we're getting to that point where I can show you this really cool trick. Here's what happens. You build this beautiful wood bed, and it all actually seems pretty precise. You'd even put a framing square on it, and everything lines up pretty well. But when you cut these 45-degree cuts on these first boards and you screw it on, if you were just to take your end piece and measure it and then just cut a standard 45-degree, it's a little unpredictable how big that gap is going to be. It might not be just quite right. Also, maybe you'll cut it just a little bit too long with your measurements or a little bit too short, and it won't quite fit at first, or it'll be a little bit too big of a gap. We can avoid all of that by just cutting our pieces close to the length they need to be, setting them on the edge here, and then just coming in below and marking the bottom of that board with a pencil. And then we'll just cut right along that line, and you'll see it'll fit in really nicely. We have our 10-foot board. We're gonna just cut it directly in the center on this one. And then we'll have 2 equal pieces with plenty of extra on each side, because these boards are gonna end up about 4 foot 3 inches. Remember, we have a 4 foot wide garden bed with an 1.5 inch overhang on each side. We're just gonna set these boards on the ends. We'll pay attention to whether there's any part of the board that we want to lose on either side. There are no splits or anything on these. I like this side the best. I think this is the prettiest. Now, because the board is resting on top of the other bench, it's really easy to get underneath with a pencil. I just want to push directly down, make sure it doesn't move around, and get my mark underneath. A little bit over here that I couldn't reach, and do the same thing over here. Put a little mark on here. This side is facing north, just to remember which is which. Great, so this is where we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're not gonna just push this board into the guide and cut it, most likely. Let's take a look. We can put the blade up to our line and see how well it goes along the line. You see, it starts to get off the line just a little bit, and it is quite close, but you'll notice that slight difference when it comes to actually putting it into place. So all we need to do is just slide this board out just a little bit to get this blade along the line. There we go. So I just changed the angle of the board, and that's really nice and close. I'm just going to hold this into place. It's not up against the guard here. You can actually see that there's a little bit of a gap. There's a little bit of a gap on that side, but this side is all the way up against the guard because we've accounted for that slightly off of 45-degree angle. Success! Still have all my fingers, and we're ready to put these into place. So fortunately I marked them, otherwise I think I would have surely lost track. This was the north side. And you can see how uniform that little space is, which is really good. And same thing over here. Nice and uniform, really slight gap, and I really like that uniformity here. Looks great. I love it. Garden bed is basically ready to go.